Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another video for Final Fantasy XIV. This is my reaction then to a video posted by Work2Game on the topic of the state of Final Fantasy XIV's YouTubers. Their response to a Reddit post on the Final Fantasy XIV discussion Reddit, whatever that is, for 14 can be found in the description, and I'd like to thank them firstly for their warm words during the video towards me. Very, very cool. Checks in the mail. Thank you very much, Brian and Chris. But anyway, let's actually look at this post and the reason I wanted to make a video. Holy moly. So I'll just cut out all of the swearing parts with a cut tool, with transparency, just to save you guys brain cells. And the poster, FreezeDead 4TY says, Final Fantasy XIV YouTubers all suck, effectively. There's absolutely nothing, they say, in this game to make good content on, so every F channel revolves around guides, 6.0 speculations, and endless amounts of uninteresting weekly podcasts, crap humour revolving around job stereotypes which were only ever funny the first time, news videos which take 5 years to go over, a 5-minute piece of news, item showcases for whatever reason. Why would I ever, he asks, want to watch this flipping S? It's all completely useless and pointless content that is uninteresting, and it gets repeated by everyone non-stop. That's end quote there. So, let's address the first couple of paragraphs here. The poster mentions that, quote, there's absolutely nothing in this game to make good content on, end quote. So you're saying that in other games there is? Beyond the list of what you've mentioned here, including comedy videos, news, item showcases, speculation, podcasts, and guides, the only thing I could think of beyond that is probably lore videos and top 10s, much like some of the other comments have suggested on Brian's video. Is that not the case for every other MMORPG on the platform? I don't remember, in the 12 years or so playing World of Warcraft, ever seeing anything other than content that, yeah, like that, or even when I played Arcade, Black Desert, Blade and Soul, Terra, all those other games for the many years I tried to sort of fit into that content creation. Yeah, there was nothing really anything other than what you've mentioned. What that person has listed here is every major format of video that you see on a daily basis, so perhaps it's not actually the YouTubers that suck then, but the content provided by the game? To that extent, I'm not sure what any of us can really do about that. Content creation in its base form is pointing a camera at something and talking. Beyond that, it takes many different forms, but ultimately that's the core of it. The reason many of us do this is for our enjoyment, our self-gratification. The monetary side of things is wonderful and lets us continue working doing what we love, like any other conventional artist. We have AdSense, we have obviously Patreon and other tiers and things that people might explore, like a conventional artist would as well. Fundamentally, however, I know that very few of us that went into this sort of content creation with the idea of making money. That takes a good amount of luck, skill, or perseverance. So you have to remember, at the end of the day, a lot of us do this for our own will, basically, our own willpower, stuff we want to do, stuff we feel like putting out there. So a lot of us started pretty much with that concept, and many of us have probably still kept it as far as I've seen. Podcasts then, as you mentioned, are born majoritively from multiple people sharing their love for the topic they're talking about, in this case Final Fantasy XIV. The boring nature of the podcast, as you mentioned, is actually down to the personality of the people on them, though, not necessarily the game. Ultimately, regardless of how you look at this point of view, the single most important thing to say in reply to this is that if there is a gap, a missed niche, a format that you think would be an addition and fundamentally help you enjoy the Final Fantasy XIV content creation on YouTube more, then you can either create it yourself through guides. I'm sure you can get set up. In fact, Work2Game has guides on how to set up on YouTube, or recommend those ideas directly to the content creators you see already that you have problems with. You would be actually surprised how many ideas are founded on the recommendation of what would be cool if, and you should do this, etc., that many of us get. Content creators are people at the end of the day, and we have ears, and they are people that you can communicate with directly. Many of us have publicly accessible Discord servers, such as my own, which is listed automatically in every video I upload to the channel. I know Work2Game has one like this as well. I believe there are different tiers of access on there, but I'm pretty sure you can just jump on there. I know there's been a lot of discussion recently about how I've made my housing videos, and to quote one person, I talked 5 minutes about a cup. Well, to be fair, as I said jokingly as a reply to that comment, it was actually a nice cup. But jokes aside, I film housing videos to give impressions of objects in the environment, of them being crafted or purchased and placed in an actual house in the actual game. We showed what items look dyed in different light conditions, and with food, we actually eat the food, consume it completely to see what the item that's left afterward looks like, such as the shakshola bowl that I filmed earlier today for a video. That has a unique steam effect that persists through the item's consumption, where the spoon actually moves inside of the bowl as well from the outside. This item could be then used when designing housing areas by clipping this item into stairs or something to make steam come from other objects. Not every video will be to the liking of the audience it's created for, or even to the audience that's familiar with a different type of content you create, and there are analytics to prove this point. But to say that you can only do one type of content as a creator, or that type of content is useless or pointless, in itself is a ridiculous statement to make. That's like saying that all flowers must be destroyed in the world because I suffer from hay fever in the summer. Do you see my point? There are so many different types of content already for 14 on YouTube. We have baking and cooking with a recipe reborn, player-friendly guides for starting out with Work2Game amongst many other people, and other types of content there. Funny videos by Larry Zor, Drac, etc. We have all manner of humorous and guide content, stuff from Zeppler. Mr. Happy covers big speculation points and news and breakdowns. I probably cover too much, honestly. And then you have podcasts like She Heals I Tank, Moogle Go Round, Maelstrom Radio, and these are just some of what you can find if you actually use the search bar and type in the right things. But anyway, on to your second point. Quote begin. Occasionally one YouTuber will make a hot take to which all of the other YouTubers will make a response video just to agree, because they were too pussy to discuss the topic themselves without the safety barrier of someone doing it before them. End quote. Okay, so even though this is a video of a reaction to a reaction, it's a point that I would have probably never seen if not for Brian and Chris's actual response via their video, because I'm not sure what the heck Final Fantasy XIV discussion subreddit is. But frankly, on initial inspection, it looks like a complete train wreck. Anyway, reaction content then is actually enormous for sharing your opinions. Too often are people told on YouTube that they have no opinion or they're non-critical. I myself get that crap all the time. But it proves that if you react to a subject because you were made aware of it by another YouTuber, now you are yourself only reacting because you are, quote, too pussy to do so yourself, end quote. But if you don't react, people then call you non-critical and opinionless. So, yeah, this is the sort of crap we have to deal with on a daily basis. There's no way of conveying opinions without there being a flaw in you sharing those opinions regardless. I mean, it's a no-win situation, so you have to decide what you want us to do, and people will never agree on that. That's the nature of opinions. You know, everyone has one. And their final point here, quote start, it feels like all Final Fantasy XIV YouTube channels for 14 are directed towards sprouts that haven't even reached level cap, end quote. So, if you saw the viewing figures on guide content for basic game concepts aimed at these said sprouts, you would actually see why, friend. I hate to say this, but Final Fantasy XIV does a terrible job of guiding people through itself. Even with the most basic of things when you start the game, the tooltips are awful. It may seem so easy for you now, being a veteran player, sat there probably watching or listening to this, but honestly it's really quite bad without any guidance externally for a new player. If you're somebody who doesn't have friends, doesn't talk to anybody on Discords, whatever, doesn't watch YouTube, starts the game, it's an absolute nightmare, trust me. You sit someone down in that situation who's never played a game before, and they'll completely just lose their crap. It's so hard for them to get into. It's not voice acted, it's not guided you properly through anything, it's just a text box. So That's why these videos exist, for that sole purpose, and that's why the viewing figures are so high for them, because there is a want and need for them. So that's why that content exists. So yeah, ultimately that's the game's fault, in my personal opinion. Work to Game does helpful guides aimed at this exact sort of target audience, this player base, does incredibly well with said guides, and I frankly don't see a problem with it myself. There are plenty of guides for Savage Fights, Ultimate, and many other more veteran topics out there. Again, merely just a search bar away if you type in the correct thing. It comes down to what you yourself are searching for and what you click on, and ultimately you can choose not to watch something if it's not your cup of tea. But for some reason people don't get that. Anyway, at my own conclusion, I find that the creativity of video creation for 14 lies solely in what people are willing to watch. We have a massive variety, filling practically every possible want and need from the general sort of niches from audiences, and I have never actually seen a community as healthy as this one revolving around an MMORPG. Honestly, I mean, WoW's is a typical example of it's just impossible to get started in. This one's quite healthy, quite welcoming to new people, so honestly, it's a lot better than it could be, trust me on that one. Perhaps better use of the search bar and perhaps a little less of your own input. Perhaps better use of the search bar and perhaps a little of your own input, either by creating your own videos or giving ideas like the ones you probably have, writing comments like this to those that you dislike on how they can improve on the platform, could ultimately help make for better content that you'd want to watch, rather than just this poorly constructed rant on a very obscure looking Reddit. Who knows at the end of the day. Thank you kindly for watching this video and listening if you are still watching. Those are my thoughts on this rather entertaining topic. Thank you so much to Work to Game for the love as usual. Go subscribe to them. Check out Weekly for their lovely channel of awesomeness full of content. Let me know below what you guys think about this particular topic. Try to keep it civil if possible, and I'll see you all next time.